This episode is brought to you today by Whitehall Mortgage, where there's a will, there's a Whitehall. Buying a home starts by getting a pre-approval, and nobody does it better than Doug in Dallas. Call them today at 570-562-7505 or apply online at whitehallmortgagefinancial.com. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Wychuk. I am the host of the Real Estate Right Now podcast. And today I have a pretty cool episode coming for you guys. You know, the state of the economy, the state of the stock market. I wanted to talk about the 5 biggest advantages of investing in real estate as opposed to investing in stocks, but also the 5 disadvantages of investing in real estate instead of the stock market. Now, look, I'm not here to try to convince you to invest in real estate or invest in the stock market. That's a personal choice. But I think there are pretty clear advantages of investing in real estate, but there's also some things that you have to consider that might be disadvantages if you're looking to invest your money someplace. So let's start with the advantages first. I think one big advantage of investing in real estate instead of the stock market is the cash flow from rental income. Look, if you put money into the stock market, that sits there and you hope it grows over time. But that cash flow, you know, that mailbox money that hits every month, pretty nice. You know what I mean? It's pretty nice to think that every month I'm going to have a $1,000 cash flow because I have a few investment properties. So I think that's one advantage is that real estate has. Another one is the tax benefits of investing in real estate. Look, you get to claim depreciation, mortgage interest deductions. There's 1031 exchanges to eliminate, that you could use for a tax advantage. So I do think there are some significant tax advantages when it comes to investing in real estate as well. One thing that I know a lot of real estate investors like is they'll say, Dave, I don't invest in anything that I can't see and touch. They like a tangible asset. They like to be able to drive into a neighborhood and say, see that building over there? That's mine. I own it. There's 4 tenants inside and they all pay me rent. So I think if you're someone that feels more comfortable with those types of assets, look, real estate makes a lot of sense. Another thing about real estate where I think it has an advantage over stocks, the leverage that you get through financing. Look, if you want to have $1 million real estate portfolio, you're buying those homes with 20% down loans. So you can have $1 million portfolio for $200,000. Now, if you buy the right types of properties, the rents that you get should be more money than your monthly payment on these types of properties, which leads to your cash flow. But you get to leverage other people's money to build your real estate empire. I think that's pretty good. And another thing too that I like about real estate is I actually think real estate investing, and it's true, I think of it as a hedge against inflation. Okay. So when the market goes up, rents go up with it. Just the other day, just earlier this week, I was looking because I had a client looking for an apartment. And when my wife and I, before we were married, we rented an apartment for a year before we bought our first house. That was back in 2005, so 20 years ago. We got a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment, and it was $570 a month, which at the time felt like $1 million to me, but we wanted our own place, so that's what we did. I just looked at that same exact apartment, all right, in the same community today, and it's renting for $1,400 a month. So if you have rental properties, those rents, they climb with time. So I do think it's a hedge against inflation. So obviously, there's some clear advantages to investing in real estate instead of investing in the stock market. But there's things that you want to consider as well that might be disadvantages, all right? One of them is real estate isn't the most liquid investment you're ever going to have, all right? So if you're going to invest money into real estate, you might not see the appreciation on that. You might not get that benefit until you sell the property. And if you need money today, you can't sell a property today. You could sell a stock today and get the cash for it. So if you want liquidity, stocks might be a better investment as opposed to real estate. Another disadvantage, I think, of real estate, it's pretty high upfront costs. And we talked about that. Well, you only need 20% down to buy more, a property worth more. All right, but if you want to buy a $250,000 rental property and you're going to put 20% down, you need $50,000. I think for a lot of people, that's troublesome. I mean, you can buy one share of a stock, might be $10, right? So the upfront costs of investing in real estate prevent people from doing it, and it makes the stock market a little bit more attractive. I'm saying this is a disadvantage. In some ways it is an advantage, but real estate investing requires active management. All right. You need to know what's going on in your properties, right? You should at the very least have a property manager, or you should be driving by them yourself from time to time to make sure that your investment is not maybe literally in some cases going up in flames. So real estate requires active management, where the stock market, it's a little more passive. Look, market and local risk is a real thing with real estate. All right. So a great market elevates bad neighborhoods. The challenge to that is when the market dips, those bad neighborhoods get hammered. All right. So there's a real chance that you could lose money. And obviously you could lose money in the stock market too. But there's blue chip stocks out there that for the most part seem to be a little bit safer as far as market risk is concerned. Look, the other thing too might be a disadvantage with real estate. You set yourself up for some legal and liability exposure. I mean, landlords get sued. There's tenant disputes. There's code violations. There's some risks that you just don't have when you invest in stocks. So I do think there's advantages and disadvantages to investing in real estate instead of stocks. If I had to go in one direction, I still love the idea of real estate investing. Obviously, look, I'm a real estate broker. I have some investment properties myself. I think it makes sense. But I will say this, even though I do have investment properties, I also have money in the stock market. I think you could never go wrong with a balanced portfolio. I just think it's good to know what you're getting yourself into when it comes time to invest in the stock market. There's good and there's bad. For me, I think the good outweighs the bad. I think many people would agree with that. That's why there's so many real estate investors out there. But it's important to know it does take some work and it does take some risk if you want to get to where you're going as a real estate investor. That's all for today. We'll talk again soon. Thanks for joining us for today's episode, everybody. If you want to hear more content, follow us at Real Estate Right Now Pod on YouTube. Once you're there, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And if you want to follow me directly, check me out. It's Dave Wychock at Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, all the socials that you're already using.